Hello. Oh, there we go. Sounds like we're having too much fun. So, welcome to the Rotary Club of Harrisonburg. We'll start out this afternoon, as we always do, with the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do.
First is the truth. Second is fair to all concerned. Third will build goodwill and better friendships. Fourth will be beneficial to all concerned.
All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I asked Les if he was the song today, and he said, no, you are the song today.
So you're leading it.
So I am not leading it.
I thought we should extend St. Patty's Day. Did anybody bring a Guinness?
Oh, I had none for breakfast.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling. Glen to glen and down the mountainside. Summer is gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. And I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. There you go. Right.
Thank you, Les.
Yeah.
Our prayer today is from Eric Cotting. Oh, there you
Let's
are.
pray together, please. Gracious Father, we're so grateful that we can gather again on this Monday and enjoy fellowship together. Thank you for the friendships that are enjoyed here, that take shape, or that begin here. We pray that you would be present in the work that we do, and that we would work for the good of our community, and just to see you very much in the midst of that. We ask these things in Jesus' name.
All right, and I'll have Dan come up and introduce visitors today.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for singing my song. You guys sounded really good. Hey, we have one guest today. David Weiner is joining us, and he is a friend of Wayne Whitmer. So Wayne's not here. You want to say a couple words there, David?
Thanks for having me. I picked the day when Wayne wasn't here, so sorry about doing that. David Weiner with Central Valley Habitat. It's good to see friends and learn to see new faces. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here, David. Welcome.
Yeah, so Wayne wasn't feeling great today, so he asked me if I would step in, and so, well, welcome. All right, so we talked about a couple of weeks ago that there was a number of us that went to district conference. And so we wanted to take a few minutes today and just have a couple of the folks that were there to just talk about some of their learnings from the conference. I like to do that whenever I send folks from my organization to a conference when they get back. I feel like I should get something from that conference, so we generally have them give a presentation. So we're not giving a presentation today, but a couple of comments. So Ken and Michael were with us, and so if you guys want to come up, and you can do it at the same time or separately. You want to go first, Michael?
All right, just a couple things that I learned at the conference. Rotary started off as a networking group. They wanted new members in Chicago there. And what happened was a new member wanted to join. They really wanted this guy to be in their club. And he said, no, I'm not going to join because one thing you need there is service. And one of the things that you are known for. So they put in the service aspect of one of the objects of Rotary, and then he said, okay, I'll join. So that's how we became more of a service-focused organization. Also, they didn't want to expand. We have, I don't know how many thousands of Rotarians in the world these days. They wanted their club and they were happy with it. And they had a vote and they said, no, we're not going to expand. They had a member who happened to be moving to San Francisco. And Paul Harris said, hey, you know, if you happen to know somebody that wants to start a Rotary Club, it can't be you, but if you happen to know somebody and they contact us, we probably can't say no. And what happened is he found a friend and he said, I want to start a Rotary Club. Got back to Chicago there and they said, well, okay, I guess we're expanding now. And one other thing I found out was there was a person who started helping crippled kids. And that project ended up being Easter seals. So Rotary has done quite a bit in the world. And I won a $25 gift certificate. And one of the things I bought was Rotary socks. So I was glad to be at the convention. It was very good, met a lot of people, had a good time. You should try it sometime.
All right.
Thanks for breaking the ice, Michael. My wife and I were also privileged to be in the district conference, and one of the things that hit me early on that I'd like to share with you, and it's a quote, and it says, "Be the voice, not the echo." And I would say that that's kind of a tagline that could describe Rotary. Be initiators, not be the results of other people's happenings. And I think that Rotary is that kind of an organization. One of the things, if you've been in Rotary a while, that you are aware of, that one of our goals is to stamp out polio worldwide, and there's progress being made. One of the things that we heard when we were there is that in India, in the last 11 years, there has been not one new case of polio. That's progress. That is toward the goal of Rotary, of what can we do to stamp out Rotary all around the world. I like the concept that this club is a part of a club in a district. It's a part of a club or an organization worldwide. I don't know about you, but for me, something that I live with often is watching the news and hearing of the war going on in Ukraine and think, so much destruction, so many people's lives lost, etc. Do you know that Rotary is deeply involved in Ukraine? Do you know that Rotary grew by 24% last year during the war? To me, that is an exercise of service above self in a club there in war zone being constructive. What has Rotary in our district done for the Ukraine? We as a district gave $288,000 to Ukraine to help in the purchase of 4 ambulances. If I were to ask you, what's the lifespan of an ambulance, what would the answer be? 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, something like that? Of the 4 ambulances that in Ukraine we helped to send, one of those last year is already out of commission because of enemy fire. But I would like to think on the positive side and think of how many lives were saved by the service of that ambulance while it was there in action. You say, well, it's a long way from home. What can we do to help Ukraine? We found out that a tourniquet, which is something quite simple, doesn't cost a lot of money, costs only $12. And we, if we would want to, could give enough to buy 10, or as a club we could buy many more. That's just an example of things that locally we can do as Rotarians to make an impact in other places far away that have a lot of need. That's a few of the highlights for me. I would echo what Michael said. Think about Rotary next year. They have qualified speakers, and it's a qualified program, and it may also touch your creative side of life and stimulate a way that you can plug in as a Rotarian here in Rockingham County. Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, those were some interesting statistics. So I can't remember the numbers, but it was crazy when they talked about the ambulances and the tourniquets. Like, if a tourniquet was available, it was like some exponential amount that they could save lives. You know, how many lives were not saved because tourniquets were not available, or how many lives were not saved because there were not ambulances to get them to more appropriate care. So little things that sound little are life-saving in that situation. So thank you. Last thing, before I introduce the speaker, family of Rotary. So the only thing that I was made aware that Chester Bradfield has had a couple of falls recently and is not able to be here. So just continue to think about Chester. And if you have his number, or if you don't, you can look it up in the directory. But maybe give him a call as he's kind of having a little tough spot right now. Any other family of Rotary announcements? No? All right. So I know that in the rotograph it says that Cynthia was going to be with us today from Skyline Literacy, but Stan, you're it, right? So Cynthia could not be with us, but Stan Farthing is here. Stan is the pastor of the Augusta Stone Presbyterian Church, and I think that's relatively new, so you may not know him as the pastor of the Augusta Stone Presbyterian Church. You probably remember him for his work in the Harrisonburg Chamber of Commerce. He was there for many years. He served on the board of Skyline Literacy for more than 10 years and lives in Dayton with his wife and his two, surprisingly, entitled Scotties. So welcome, Stan.
Good afternoon. It's really good to be here. I appreciate your having me. As you've been warned, I'm a preacher, so we could be here for an hour. I said that to the Rotary group that used to meet over here in this side of the building about 15 years ago, and this voice came from the back of the room, well, you might be. I'm especially proud to be here because my granddaddy was a Rotarian. I still have some literature of his for when he ran for district governor in one of the districts down in North Carolina, and I'm his namesake. My parents were very creative in naming their children. My oldest brother was named for Dad, the next brother was named for Dad's dad, and the next brother was named for Mom's dad. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to represent Skyline Literacy. I've been on the board of Skyline for many years. I don't even remember exactly when it was that they invited me to become a part of the board, but that was while I was working with the chamber, and I think that they thought that, you know, working for the chamber, I know everybody, and so they're going to get a lot of good connections. But the work has really grown on me, and I've really been enjoying it, and for the last 3 years, I've been the president of the board of Skyline. So I was very humbled and gratified when they asked me to do that. I was a little bit surprised as well, but I decided after some prayerful consideration that maybe it would make sense for me to take that on. And so that's been a good thing. Skyline has been in existence for more than 30 years now. Skyline started to help people with just basic literacy. You know, there are still folks around here who didn't get the schooling that they really needed for various reasons, and so they have needed help in just basic literacy in English. And so Skyline started doing that many, many years ago. Then, as the immigrant population in the area began to grow, since we were helping people, you know, with literacy in English, they said, well, maybe y'all can help folks for whom English is not their native language learn English. And so we started doing that, and we've done more and more of that over the years. And then, since that population was coming to Skyline all the time for services in learning English, they said, where can we get help in passing the citizenship test? So Skyline started offering those services as well. And so those are the three main areas that Skyline does. We also do some computer literacy and some financial literacy, but the three big things are basic literacy, learning English, and citizenship preparation. When I was in school in Chapel Hill, my roommate was a guy of Indian descent. And he had grown up in Wilson, North Carolina, and so he was just as American as anybody else. But when his mama was pregnant with him, she decided to go back to India to give birth so she could do so, you know, with family around and with a big support network and everything like that. So Harsha was not an American citizen. You know, like I say, he was as American as anybody else. He has a great picture of himself from when he was in high school. He was in a rock and roll band, and he is holding the guitar up and playing it with his teeth. But he, you know, had to decide to become an American. He chose to become an American. You know, how many of us just take our American citizenship for granted? You know, even if we are enlightened enough about it to think, you know, it is by God's grace that I was born here in America and I am an American, we do still kind of take it for granted. And so the more I thought about Harsha's experience of choosing to become an American, the more powerful I thought that was. You know, we really are that shining city set upon a hill that people all over the world see and want to be a part of. You know, like Neil Diamond sang, everywhere around the world. Every time that flag unfurls, we're coming to America. America really is the place on earth, I think, where people have the best opportunity to make the most of their God-given talents and abilities. And so everybody wants to come here. And so they don't just simply want to come here, they want to become American citizens as well. And so every year we help dozens of folks to prepare for their citizenship test. My wife is a member of the DAR, and she has quite frequently given the welcome at the new citizen naturalization ceremonies over in the federal court building. And just about every time one of those ceremonies happens, there's somebody that Skyline Literacy has helped who's becoming an American citizen. So I'm really proud of that. I think that's something that just has a lot of impact. And so, you know, as foundational and as formational as the services that we offer in basic literacy and in learning English for non-native speakers are, it just somehow seems to me to be really the icing on the cake that we help people who are choosing to become Americans. Every year we help about 300 folks. We do that with trained and qualified volunteers and instructors. Some of them are certified teachers as well. We do a lot of stuff one-on-one. We do a lot of stuff in a classroom setting as well. And as you might imagine, over the last 3 years or so, we've become better and better at doing that remotely as well. And so sometimes, especially the one-on-one things, but even sometimes the class things are done via Zoom. And so, you know, that makes it more convenient for everybody, not only the instructor, but also the clients as well. You know, they don't have to spend 20 or 30 minutes of their time getting somewhere and then going back. They can do it on their own schedule in their own home. Skyline's budget is about $200,000 a year, and we employ about 5 or 6 folks. We have an executive director, a program director, a volunteer coordinator, and some other folks as well. And so they are the ones who help us to meet our mission statement. They are the ones who help us to bring our vision statement into reality in the community. And they do a really good job for us. When I was with the chamber, I realized how generously this area supports its nonprofit organizations. I was saying to Mike a while ago, whenever I would go to get-togethers of chamber folks, and I would talk about how many nonprofit members the chamber here has, the other chamber folks representing other chambers were just amazed by that. And it's because this area really supports its nonprofits strongly. There is, in this area, more than in a lot of other areas where I have lived or where I have some experience, a real feeling of community here. Folks are really willing to reach out and help other folks who need a hand up. And I think folks also, maybe just as importantly, are willing to ask for a little help when they need it. So a lot of our support does come from generous people in the community. Since we've been fairly good at doing what we do, we're also getting some pretty good grants from organizations outside the community, the Virginia Literacy Foundation. We have contracts with the Department of Homeland Security for the citizenship preparation type things that we do as well. So we do get a lot of support from outside the area. In some ways, we represent a net importation of money into the area. But a lot of the support that we get also comes from folks in the area who believe that what Skyline is doing is important. But even more than the net importation of money into the area by what Skyline does, I think that Skyline helps to grow the local economy by helping people to be more ready to contribute what they can contribute, to be self-supporting, to go out there in the workplace and in the community and to participate in things that are going on to help make the community better themselves. So it's not just what Skyline does for the individuals that we serve. I think that then builds into what those people do for the community to help the community to grow and be a better place to live and work and raise your kids and everything like that as well. So we're really appreciative of all the support that we get from the community. We're really appreciative of all the folks who volunteer to help us. You don't have to have a whole lot of experience, and you don't have to have necessarily teaching credentials or anything like that to volunteer for Skyline. And so we get a very wide variety of folks from all over the area who participate with Skyline. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Are there any questions, comments, rebuttals? Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about the training that you do?
The training that we do is, like I say, in basic literacy for folks who need it. We help folks with English language learning, in conversational classes, and in helping them to learn more specific things that they might need for the job that they're going to do. We do help folks with other types of learning as well. One of our clients is particularly happy that we helped him to learn the math and the nomenclature that he needed to do math in English so that he could become a licensed electrician. And then the citizenship classes are mostly classes. Some of those are in person. Some of them are also remote via Zoom. And we use the curriculum that the Department of Homeland Security supplies for us.
Sorry, I actually meant for volunteers. You said that you're educators or are trained.
Right. We have a volunteer orientation about 3 or 4 times a year, and that's just a few hours. And so folks learn some basic things about how to interact with folks, especially in terms of, not treating stuff that you know as being something that's really obvious, because not everybody knows those particular things that you know about how to read or about how to speak and interact in English. So folks can certainly start with that volunteer orientation that's just a few hours. And then sometimes, like I say, we do have to go out and find a certified teacher or somebody like that to help with some of the things that we do as well. Does that answer your question, Mort?
Thank you.
So one of the things that I think I am correct on this, that we used to actually have volunteers that would go out and read to students in the elementary schools. And that was through Skyline Literacy, correct?
I think that was more through the schools themselves.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Right. So I know, is there a physical location for Skyline Literacy?
Yes, our office is in the building where Comcast's office used to be over here on Mason Street. One of the reasons why we're there is because that is also the Workforce Center. And so the Workforce Investment Board and other folks who work with folks who are trying to improve their employment situations are there. And so it becomes kind of a one-stop shop for clients there as well. So we're there. I have learned that the Harrisonburg Housing and Redevelopment organization that owns the building is looking at possible other uses for the building, so we may need to move somewhere. So if any of y'all have a nice piece of office space, several hundred or 1,000 square feet that Skyline could rent, then please let us know.
I just wanted to give a quick comment and compliment Nellie Moreno-Shank, who is your executive director. She represents your organization with a lot of grace and dignity, and she's doing a wonderful job. So I think as a board member, it's always nice to let you know that. She's very, very remarkable woman, and just really enjoyed working with her. Also, your organization has done a lot of wonderful things for our clients at Mercy House throughout the years. So I can think of several cases of people who were assisted by your organization to move forward in their lives. I think people don't always think about the connection between education and housing and being able to maintain a life. But my wife was very lucky to be able to actually volunteer with Skyline back, it's been about 10 years ago now.
Thank you.
And she talked about just how wonderful it is to be among people that so desperately want to learn. And
Right.
Education is a commodity that often is wasted. And these are folks that are really thirsty for that knowledge. And your organization does a lot of wonderful work for our community.
Thank you for saying so.
Any other questions?
Don't everybody speak at once.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate y'all letting me be here today.
Yes, I am just thrilled to see all of the seats filled today. We're always glad to see people coming in, and I'm glad not one more came in, because I think we have every seat filled today. So that's good stuff. Maybe we'll set up another table next time.
This is sort of family of Rotary. Our One Life students are serving here in Harrisonburg today. I think at Habitat maybe later. They were United Way yesterday, and they are at the food distribution center at Church of Nazareth this afternoon. And they'll be serving a couple other places tomorrow. So we're very thankful for that.
Good, thanks for sharing that. All right, anything else before we on our way? If not, we are adjourned.